Hi, everyone. My name is John Faulkner, and I am your host of the Smarter Systems Better Care podcast. I'm here today with Dr. Alidad Ghiassi. He is the Chief Medical Officer and co-founder of RetractOrtho and HIA Technologies, where he is pioneering physician-controlled AI and advanced orthopedic solutions to transform surgical care and patient communication. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me this morning.
Yeah, and just to kind of kick us off, give our listeners the backstory. Like, how did you get here, and what are you building right now?
Yeah, no, it's, by the gray hairs, you can tell it's probably quite a long backstory, but actually started my career at UCLA and the VA hospital, and then transitioned on to USC LA County General. And really during that career path, I realized that there's lots of gaps within healthcare, specifically knowledge gaps and communication gaps. And that really bothered me because, you spend a lot of time giving clinical surgical care, but your outcomes are really not ideal. And most of that relates to lack of communication in a really highly constrained environment where you're under pressure to dispense a lot of information. You wind up really shortchanging your patients. And that led me to collaborating with USC's Institute of Creative Technology, which was at the time working on digital humans, artificial intelligence, and communication solutions for the veterans. And that collaboration led to the co-founding of HIA Technologies, which is an interactive multimedia platform for engagement with patients and other humans alike as well.
What's some of the feedback that you're getting from patients and other people that are consuming your product?
Yeah, that's a great question. Number one feedback, and the way I frame this for patients is that this is an extension of my knowledge base. So this is not to replace me. This is not to, be a robot that is going to do my job. My job is to connect with you and be empathetic and provide care. But it's really an extension of my knowledge base. And the way I frame it is that this is a gift. It's something that I carry around. It's my information. And they love that because what do you get when you leave a doctor's office generally? You get either a shot, a Band-Aid, or parking fee, or a bill, right? So
Yeah,
to give them
exactly.
something that goes beyond it is really valuable. And the feedback has been really great. And for me personally rewarding because I now can rest easy going, I didn't shortchange my patients and give them the knowledge base that they needed. And providing communication tools that are legitimate, transparent, and accountable is critical, especially in these days where you're hearing what's going on with chatbots, AI, and the wild, wild world out there.
And primarily, who are the clients that you're serving? Are they large hospitals or direct to consumer? What does that look like?
Yeah, so our main content partner is WebMD Ignite. They have validated content, and our customer base goes all the way from healthcare systems to payers, and outside of healthcare, also the WIC program, which is, the Women's Infant and Children program. Really, the technology applies to arenas where there's lots of complexity, lots of information, but you need to have a very secure environment for providing the correct information. So it's very rigidly guardrailed and controlled. And that's really the element, that's the Achilles heel for generative AI is a lack of control. And that's what we provide is that really strict control layer that allows you to have those interactions.
And it sounds like too, this becomes an extension for the patient and your clients as well. It just provides another platform for them to continue messaging and reinforcing concepts.
Yes, and it goes beyond that. So I noticed, for instance, at the surgery center, the staff there, there's always revolving staff, and depending on what day you're there, they're looking for your protocols, they're looking for your answers. So it becomes a staff training tool as well, where they're asking my knowledge base, when can I shower? Or how do I take a shower? Or when do sutures come out? And those are very specific points of information that are not on the web. And as you know, and as my audience may know, healthcare is still practiced on a very individualized basis. And that is the last mile in information gaps. I mean, sure, everyone's going to know what a carpal tunnel is or what high blood pressure is, but what is the specific protocol that applies to me as a clinician and applies to my patients? And that's sitting in some drawer in some PDF, some text file that is handed out every day on your way out of the surgery center or anesthesia or doctor's office. And that's not the perfect environment to learn. I mean, think about it. You have a you or someone has a procedure, they're given an amnestic anesthesia like propofol, and in recovery, you're put a bunch of instructions in front of you going, do you understand this? Sign here and, don't drive a car for 24
Just sign it,
hours.
yeah, and leave the center.
Yeah, leave this center
Yeah,
because we have another, and I get it, right? We're in that environment, but what happens as soon as you get home? You wake up from your anesthetic fog and look at your bandages or whatnot and go, what do I do? Well, unless you have that bridge, you go to TikTok, Google, whatever, and
figure it out.
you-
Yeah,
yeah, figure it
unfortunately.
out. Yeah, I mean, I don't pretend to, eat out of garbage cans. Why would we consume information about our health out of areas that are not curated, clean, and transparent, right? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And like just in the day-to-day operations, where do you find yourself spending the most energy right now?
A lot of energy spent talking to clients, a lot of energy spent on content creation and messaging out what we're doing, and also on the development side as well. So, for startups, no job is too big or too small. We mop the floors and bring you the coffee and also get on the podium and present as well. So it's multiple areas, but the main focus is to try to continually improve the platform. And we really started from a very constrained area, and now we're slowly opening it up to these generative tools. And that's important because, you ask any chatbot a question, you have zero transparency as to why I gave you the answer, what are the ethics and morals behind that. And so we really pride ourselves in having a safe solution that gets to a point where if it doesn't know, it won't make stuff up. It'll just simply say, I don't know. And since we have human in the loop solution, the analytics component of this, we get a message to the publisher and saying, would you like to include this type of narrative in your data set? And you get to choose. So control is the main element of it, and really trying to evangelize that in this noisy AI world is one of the challenges that we are facing, and we hope to deliver that message clearly.
And and if you had to boil it down to what's because there's probably other competitors in the space, like what's the number one thing that your clients say is different about you than others?
Our main differentiator is, again, control, transparency, and accountability. Governance structure that we're talking about is having the author in control of that, not a chatbot that is curated by OpenAI, Gemini, or whatnot, and not just a prompt machine that you can put prompts in and get some sort of an answer in. Every aspect of that interaction is controlled by the author. The reason that's important and trying to get through that noise is really critical because people are like, oh, one of the things we hear is, well, it takes work, right? We have to publish something. I have to read it and approve it. And the answer is yes. I mean, think about how much time you spend on creating a PowerPoint presentation and making sure that the slide deck is just right. So the fallacy out there, which has been fed to us by a lot of the hyperscaler AI companies, is that AI is going to do everything. And the facts are, it's not. And as a matter of fact, we've gotten to the peak of promise here, and we're maybe getting down the slope of the Gardner scale into the, age of disillusion for AI. And we're going to hear more and more about that. And I don't know if, you heard just the congressional hearings on what's going on with Meta and chatbots and teen suicide and all of that. So that narrative is starting to slowly leak out, but it's really important to focus in on what AI shouldn't do and cannot do, and the guardrails around that should be clearly defined. And right now they're not, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're still working through standards and even adopting state to state as well. It sounds like they're trying to work on it, or they're delaying it in some cases. I see that happening on the news as well.
Yeah. They're doing, state by state legislation, which I don't think is the right way to go, because you're going to have a meshwork of, regulations that's going to really slow things down. But then again, there is no real formal process to say what is safe and what is not. Our proposition is that you, as the author, own the content. You own the AI model. You own your digital twin, and you're going to be responsible for what you say. And what you say can be curated and checked by you. And that comes down to anything. I mean, you create content. You don't get out there and say that the theater's on fire just because
Yeah.
that's not the right thing to say. Same thing with this. It comes down to individual accountability for published content and ownership.
Yeah. And we're kind of getting into it a little bit here, but like what's one shift like with AI here that we're kind of discussing, or trend you see that's happening that most leaders are kind of falling asleep in, unfortunately, like they're not really aware of what's happening on the back end.
Yeah. So I think everyone's enamored by the generative nature of these language models, but really the answer is in curated integration within a platform that provides value, right? And the value is hard to see at first glance because it's almost like spell check. Like, what's the value for spell check? Well, I don't know. What's the value of having a co-pilot? Well, but when you create a platform, right, an end-to-end solution where data can go in, get curated, get messaged out in a controlled fashion, provide human in the loop and analytics for that, that's a different story. All of a sudden you have a solution. So I think a lot of people are looking at, and they don't, it takes a while to try to explain that, get that message across. That's one of the struggles because most people tend to say, what is it? How does it work? And oh, it's not generative. So getting that message across saying it's a platform provides value. And if you look, for instance, I'll give you an example. The scribes that have been deployed in healthcare, now we're finding out that they're not that good and they create more work than not, right? But it was the first use case and it made sense because they tied it into the narrative that burnout it has to do with your notes and your charting. Not
It's more
really.
than that.
It's more than that. It has to do with the fact that you're not in control of your day-to-day interactions with your patients and you're getting distracted by this glorified cash machine called electronic health records. And you're not, I didn't sign up for that. I went to med school. I took the Hippocratic Oath to take care of people. Why am I typing into this computer? So those are challenges that a lot of people don't see. Um, Other challenges are, I think, that there are these monopolistic structures out there that in healthcare specifically that prevent innovation because these days it's like, I can do it myself. Why would I need you? Right. So those are some challenges, but we have a very unique value proposition. And to your point about competition, we're very unique. Direct competition is, I think, challenging to find, but you're going to find indirect. And number one is social media, right? I mean, how many people have gone on social media sites and gone, great, I want to get this vitamin so I can grow my hair.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's a good call out. It's you're literally looking for the validity of it, right? Of not just the statements. Yeah, it's really great. And look at the shiny unicorn object.
Yeah.
But what's the value of it? What's the application, right? So
Right.
yeah,
Here's the crazy part, by the way, just to expand on that. Social media companies are not media companies, but they're called social media. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
yeah. And just looking closer to like your own operations, are there any parts of that feel like it moves kind of like in slow motion as you're trying to make progress in what you're doing with your platform or in this space? Is there any part of that maybe is not moving as quickly as you'd like to see?
We're small, so we're nimble. Decisions to change things are done very readily. The challenge we see is really on the enterprise side. I mean, how many ethics committees do you have sit through and explain your solution? And then, they go in and have an internal. And one of the issues is, I think in large enterprise is who's going to be the internal champion and who's going to be the ultimate responsible person for bringing in new technologies. That kind of
Yeah.
mentality slows things down. Like, I love this technology, but am I going to vouch for it? But for us internally, I think it's the other way. It's that AI is moving so fast. And what we've built is really integrated AI solution. So all of a sudden, a better voice model can be used or, a better avatar generation pathways there. So keeping up with the latest is really one of the challenges. And it's the pace and making sure that you're running as fast as you can with the technology, but also not over promising and overreaching to a point where your solution is not going to be viable. And perfect example, I don't know if you saw Zuckerberg's demo the other day on the new Ray-Ban glasses and
Did not go well.
did not know. I mean, I feel bad for the guy because he was up there and it wasn't working. So maybe a bit of overpromise, but really that's trying to maintain that balance of promising just right what engineering can deliver and making sure that it's in line with what the customer and market needs are is always it's a balancing act that we continually look at.
And when you're looking at results too, just because we're kind of transitioning to that topic,
Mm.
what's working really well that you would never want to lose right now?
The control layer is really what's working well for us, and that control layer has generative AI components attached to it. What we're also finding is that personalized avatars are working really well for physicians. So, I mean, I'm a doctor and I don't want to be on camera. I mean, doing a podcast with you, but for the most
Yeah.
part, I'm just speaking to you, right? We're having a conversation. But if you tell me, read this doc, forget it. I mean, I'm going to look off camera 10 times. I'm going to fumble and we get it wrong, right? There shouldn't, I mean, some can be, but most aren't trained to be on camera. Well, guess what? I, as a patient, want to know what you look like, what you sound like, and do I trust you? I'm going to do a little bit of background check, do so a little bit of, look at your
Researching.
star ratings and whatnot, right? So bringing them to life in a very controlled fashion and making them sound good, right? Because catch me on a Friday afternoon after a long operation and say, do a video, I'm going to sound like a grouchy dude, right? But
Yeah.
I'm
Or
not.
post
I'm
call.
not. I'm actually a nice guy, right? I'm actually a nice guy and I can be very pleasant. Just you caught me at the wrong time. So bringing them on camera and then taking that burden away from them, saying, "Hey, can we film you?" And this happens all the time, and it would happen to me when I was at USC. Can we film you? Sure. When? Oh, let's do 12 noon on a Wednesday. I'm like, well, I have surgery planned then. Okay, we'll do it in 6 months. All right. So, the machinery around you as a clinician moves without taking into account that you're just put there to take care of people. So that's one of the value propositions we're seeing that's working well. And the second one is the analytics component of a human in the loop analytics component where you actually get your audience to ask questions without the intimidation factor of directly asking you. And there's plenty of science to show that rather ask digital solutions questions as opposed to real humans, because it can be scary, right? I mean,
A factor. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm a scary guy, right? I can use a knife. I become scary. I can give you a shot. I can really scary, and I can give you bad news, which is even more scary, right? So it does take away that intimidation factor, which I found to be really important because when patients are sitting in front of you, they're not thinking about asking the questions. They're thinking about multiple other things.
Yeah. They're on their mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I may say something that's not like curated properly, right? I mean, I may use words that all of a sudden just shut them off 100%. And you see that in their face. They're drifted off, it's like, oh boy.
Yeah. They're not there. They're physically there, but they're mentally, they have other things going on in their brain that they're thinking about.
They're thinking
Yeah.
about, oh, he said surgery. And all of a sudden they're thinking about, oh boy, I'm take time off from work. Who's going to drive the kids to school? And I need to get, finances in order. You want a friction filled system, enter the healthcare arena. Every step of the way is loaded with friction. And our value proposition is that journey. I don't know if you call it a journey. It's like a bad trip, right? These days, those friction points, let's reduce them. Explanation of benefits. What do I know what my benefits are with the insurance company? All of a sudden I get this big PDF packet in my mail or through email and go, what's my out-of-pocket deductible? Wait, what is the definition of out-of-pocket deductible or co-insurance? I challenge you to even ask physicians. They don't even know what a co-insurance or copay is sometimes, because they weren't trained. So reducing friction at the most frictionless point and then unleashing clinicians to do what they're designed to do, which is essentially take care of patients, create trust, create space. I was trained, by the way, this is really interesting. I was trained to walk in the room as a young doctor and say, what is your chief complaint? And I don't know if people, if they're chief complaint. How dehumanizing is that? What is your chief complaint? How about walking in a room and saying, how can I help you? What's going on in your life? What's bothering you? Right? As opposed to what is your chief complaint? Gotta go. Right.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
changing
You
that
got 30
culture.
seconds. And just looking in the future, with what you're working on, where do you want to be in 6 to 12 months? What's your vision?
Obviously, grow our company, our platform, bring on more clients as well, be on the planet at the same time, obviously, be on the planet Earth, but really just expand into this mission, in the next 6 to 12 months. And we're getting some really good signals now that's going to happen, especially from people like the likes of Johns Hopkins and Emory Health, which are really they're true institutions in evangelizing technology that works as opposed to just onboarding something that doesn't. We see that. I also see growth in innovation within healthcare as well, working on some other projects outside of HIA Technologies as well. So growing those and really patient-centered solutions, right? And our solution doesn't come from some guy sitting in a room going, how can I apply this technology within healthcare? It comes from a person or a team that's
Doing
had
it.
that experience. Yeah, I mean, in 20 years of sitting across patients going, you're not getting it, right? So those real critical pain points that come from practicing clinicians and addressing those.
And as we're at the end of the podcast now, where can people find you to connect with you and learn more?
Yeah, so they can connect with me on LinkedIn. Also, our website, HIA.ai, and email me at aghiassi@hia.ai. Those are three best ways, and more than happy to talk to anybody and collaborate as well.
Well, thank you for your time. It was a wonderful conversation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Great to talk to you, and thanks for considering me for this podcast.
Absolutely.